everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jenna. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a slightly different kind of video. I am currently filming in the same kind of spot, just a different angle, because today I'm going to be doing my December wrap-up, but I'm also going to be doing basically one of those like turning all the books around, or like all the unread books on my shelves type of video as well as we go into January. So we're gonna see if it works, because I have the lights on in my library, which is why there's a giant orange light on my head. But that's because it's dark outside almost. It's almost 4, it's exactly 4 o'clock, so it's starting to get dusky out. So it's now 2020, and I've decided to also make this a January goals video. So really, it's just going to be chatty. It's going to be kind of a mess, but that's okay. So first and foremost, I read 15 books in the month of December, which is my best reading month of all of 2019. I am shocked that it's that many. But it was also one of my favorite reading months, because I spent the month really kind of particularly focused on Christmassy books and books that I wanted to read, including some book club picks and books that I had to read and whatever. But it was a really, really great month. Very first book that I picked up in December was The White Christmas Inn by Colleen Wright. I read this on the very first day of December, started and finished. If you've seen my first Vlogmas video, it's in there, but it was good. I think I ended up giving it 4 stars because it was really entertaining and just like Christmassy, which is exactly what I wanted. And the writing was really nice as well, so that's the first one. The second one I read is on my other shelf over there, so let's go over there. Alright. So we are now in the shelves. Okay, so really terrible angle, really terrible lighting, but we're just gonna have to deal with it. So the next one that I read was Well Met by Jen DeLuca. This was for our lovely ladies live stream book club pick of the month for most of like November and December. And I think I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. We all really loved it, and it was a super, super fun time. It's basically just a romance set at a Renaissance fair that this town puts on every year, which is kind of fun. I really enjoyed it, as always. So, now that we're on this side of the room, where am I going to put you? See, now this is going to be a fun question, because I don't know where my tripod went. So we're gonna have to see how I'm going to be able to turn down all my books. Maybe, hold on. I'll put you on this shelf, angle you towards that shelf, and do a time lapse. Now that I've done part of my shelves, the next book that I read in the month of December was, this is crazy, oh there's so many that I haven't read, oh god. So the next book that I read was Winter House by Ben Gutterson, and I really, really enjoyed this book. I ended up giving it either 4.5 or 5 stars. It was incredible, great, great middle grade. It is set at a hotel, it's very wintry and atmospheric, and there's a mystery, and there's books, and it's just wonderful. But yeah, so that's... Oh no, I have to squeeze it back in. Okay, so... And then, the next book that I read is on this shelf over here. So yeah, today, actually, I ended up pulling all my books from my room and putting, like, on my TBR shelf and putting them into my bookshelves. So everything, all the books that I own except for one, are in here, except for my Harry Potter books, but I've read all those, that doesn't matter. I ended up rereading The Fellowship of the Ring. This is really low. There, that's better. So I ended up reading The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien, and I really enjoyed this. I think I started it in November, but finished it in December, and loved it, as always. It's a reread for me, and I just wanted to be in that like super cozy rereading kind of vibe. And it was coming off of the weird slump that I was in near the end of November that I only wanted to reread Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. So I did that, and I listened to the audiobook for this one for the entire thing. So the next book I read was a book club pick, and hated it. Don't have a copy. I had it on Kindle, and it's The Stone Gods by Jeanette Winterson. Gave it 2 stars. Was not good. Not even worth talking about, but that was another book that I read in December. Let's get back to that book turning around, shall we? So that's those 2 shelves done. That's a lot of books that I have not read. Ooh. Anyways, let's do this shelf now. So the next 2 books that I read in December. First one was One Day in December. If you remember from my Vlogmas, I bawled my eyes out, which is standard. This book wrecked me, and it's one of my favorite books of the year. And I gave it 5 stars. It's a snapshot of 10 years of these 2 people and their lives and how they come together in the end, and it's fantastic. Highly recommend this. And the other book that I read in December was We Met in December. Both of these very similar names, but you know, it works. And this one actually was 4 stars. I've lowered my rating a little bit. It was really cute, reminded me of New Girl, and like this one, it is over a certain time period. It's over a year, and it's these 2 people who meet and get together, so it's wonderful. The next 3 books I'm not even going to bother grabbing off my shelves because that's just going to be a lot of running around, and I read them in a 24-hour readathon that I decided to do up close to Christmas. I believe it was December 21st that I did the readathon, and they were A Boy Called Christmas by Matt Haig, which I gave 5 stars to, The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand, which I gave 4.5 stars to, and then The Christmasaurus by Tom Fletcher, which I gave 4 stars to. All of them super good, super cute, and just so fun. Really, honestly, just so fun, which is exactly what I wanted in that Christmassy readathon. But anyways, let's get on to this shelf, shall we? Alright, so I've decided I'm not going to do my classic shelf, which is this shelf here, because that would just be a lot of turning down books because I haven't read many of them. But let me show you my shelves now. So here is my beginning filming shelf, and a fair amount of books. As you can tell, this is my Riordan shelf, so I've read like the original Percy Jackson series and then none of the others. But yes, so we have a fair amount of books that I have read and not read on these shelves. This is my entire Brandon Sanderson collection right here. And then this, the only one I've read of V.E. Schwab's, is Darker Shade of Magic, and these are the next 2. And then this is Vicious, and then this is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. But yeah, so it kind of goes a little bit like that. And even down here, there's a fair amount that I have not read. So that's annoying. Oh, and those ones down there are old school books and then more classics that I'm just not going to include in this. But then we have this monster. And I gotta say, it is a lot, you know? There's a lot of books that I have not read. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to count them and then I will come back and see how many that is. So that brings us to, so there is 42 on this one here, and then the other one has 141 unread books on that one. So I have, in total on my TBR, not including any of my classics, I have 183 unread books on my shelf. Now, that's a lot, and I'm going to need a little bit of time to process this. So let's continue with the December wrap-up, shall we? Oh. So I also finished reading Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows this month. That was just a conclusion to my reread because I've read those ones a million times, and it was lovely to be back in that world, and of course the ending crushed me like it always does. But then, the last 4 books I read in December were read pretty much one after the other. The first 2 that I'm going to talk about are Sarah Beth Durst's novels. We have The Queen of Blood and The Reluctant Queen. I read these in 2 days. I read this one one day and this one the next day. I binged them. I loved them. They were so good. I gave them both 5 stars because they were just incredible. And I'm now reading her one that's coming out in 2020, The Race the Sands, which is already really good. So I'm very excited about that. And I have the 3rd one hopefully on the way. I'm having some weirdness with Amazon right now, but hopefully it's on the way. But definitely recommend these. It is set in a world where these people live in this kingdom where there are different spirits. So there are wood spirits, earth spirits, air, water, fire, and ice. And they need a queen who can control the spirits to be a queen, otherwise the spirits would ravage everybody, they would kill everybody, destroy everything, because that is their nature, either to destroy or to create. And so at the beginning of this book, Queen of Blood, we have Delena, who is a young girl at the beginning of this book, and she finds out that she also has this power to control the spirits. So she goes to the school because she wants to protect her family and she wants to learn how to harness this power. So she goes to the academy and she starts learning how to be a queen, basically, and that kicks off this entire trilogy, which is really good, and I'm so intrigued to see where it goes in the 3rd one. But yes, these 2 are amazing. And then I read a real disappointment. Disappointment because the first book in this trilogy was my favorite book in 2018, and this one got 3.5 stars because it was just, it felt honestly like just groundwork between the first book and the 3rd. So I'm really hoping the 3rd knocks it out of the park, but this, like many sequels do, just felt like a bridge to get us to the next story. It didn't feel like a story on its own, which really made me sad. It reverted a lot of the characters back to their state in the first book, which didn't make any sense to me. But I see that this is going somewhere in particular that Tomi Adeyemi has picked, so I'm putting all my hopes in that 3rd book, basically. But yeah, this is Children of Virtue and Vengeance, and I was really excited for this one to come out because the first one was such a favorite of mine. But it was such a disappointment to me, and I'm sad about it. When I finished reading it, I was just put in a bad mood because I was just expecting so much more out of it. I don't know what I was expecting, but because the first book was so incredible to me, I was just expecting this to be like a 2nd one of my favorite books of all time, but it wasn't, and that's really disappointing, but that's life, right, when you're reading books? And then the very last book that I read in December and in 2019 was Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, and I've been wanting to read this book for so long, and now that the new movie has come out, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to plow through. I'm going to enjoy it because I know I will. And I really did. I ended up giving this 4.5 stars because it just doesn't feel like a 5-star book to me, but it was still incredible. So cozy and just amazing. So that's really good. But yeah. And those are all the books that I read in December. 15 is a lot of books. and I'm really proud of myself for that. And that makes my grand total in 2019 107 books. I also DNF'd a bunch of books that we just won't talk about. But going into 2020, because I now have, what was it, 180, come on calendar, 183, calculator, books on my physical TBR at home with me. I am going to try in 2020 to read as many physical books that I have before I can buy any more. And that's going to be really hard because I already have so many books that I'm excited for coming out in 2020, and there's books that I want to read that came out previously. One coming to mind is the Witcher series, because I adore that series on Netflix. I really, really want to get to that series, but I don't have any of the books. And one good thing though is that the first book that you're supposed to start with in the Witcher series is, I believe, The Last Wish. My bookstore does not have it, and it doesn't have it online, so it's making it harder for me to start the series, which is good, because if it was easy, I would do it. So we're going to try our hardest in 2020 to see how long I can go without buying another book. And other than that, I am also going to try and not buy as many books I want just in general, because I did a massive unhaul, which you've seen, and I ended up doing another bout of unhaul after that video because there were just so many books on my shelves that I just didn't want to read anymore, was just taking up space. And the entire time I was cleaning them off my shelves, I decided, you know what? I need to buy books more mindfully, I need to spend my money more mindfully, because I also do want to try move out of my house this year if things line up right. So I need to start saving money, and it's not like I don't have anything to read. I have 183 books to pick from, right? So like, we should be fine. So, speaking of that, I feel like we should also pick my January TBR out of these unturned books. Alright, so another goal of mine in 2020 is to read more classics. Now that I'm out of school, classics aren't usually on my radar as much, so I'm going to try and read more of them, which is going to be interesting. I don't really know how to make myself do that because classics are just inherently a slower read for me, so I don't necessarily lean towards them to pick them up. But I have goals now. So I want to read the entire Jane Austen repertoire, which I have read Emma and I've read Emma, Sense and Sensibility, and Pride and Prejudice, and I've read also her Lady Susan and her Love and Friendship one that she wrote when she was younger. So I have Mansfield Park and Persuasion that I need to read still of hers, which is very easy because they're both little. I would also like to read a George Eliot novel for the first time. I would also really like to read more Elizabeth Gaskell, just little things like that. So I'm going to really commit myself in 2020 to hopefully at least read one classic a month. So I think, I know I'm back on this side of my room, but we'll pick a classic as well, I think, for this month. But, so, I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you guys. There's just so many. I'm gonna turn down the light a little bit because that one there is just a little harsh. There, that's better. Okay, so I know for sure I want to read. Alright, let's see if I can put you somewhere here. Sorry, Moriarty. I have two pops on this shelf. I have Daenerys and Moriarty, which I just put over there, which is always a good time. Anyways, so out of all these books, which one? Now, a few of these books that I have turned down, for example, I have this one here by Renee Ate. It's The Beautiful, and I started reading that last year, and I just kind of got bored of it, so I put it down. But I do plan on picking it up again when I'm more in the mood for it. But I still turned that down because it's still one that I have not read. But okay, so I want to read for sure, well, not that I want to read, but I do want to read it. did it go? Is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, because this is our lovely ladies live stream pick for this month, so definitely gonna read that. So that's one. I also really would like to get to, oh dear, I guess now we can start putting it back up, shall we? Okay, I would really also like to get to the 10,000 Doors of January. I picked this up on Boxing Day, I do believe. I've heard mixed things about it, but I'm really intrigued by it myself, so that's going to go on this TBR. I also would love to get to We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. I realize this is a terrible angle, but like, it's all I can do. Otherwise you're going to be staring at like the top of my head. So I'll squat, that works. And I realize that we're not really focused quite well. You know what, it's fine. This is just kind of a mess of a video anyway, so this is also going on my TBR. What else? I'm gonna pick 2 more books, I think. Maybe. Oh no, I'll pick 1 more book, and then, yeah. I'm also gonna read The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. It's gonna be a good one. Hey, what do you think? Come here. We have a boopy. A boopy. Anyways. Alright, so I've moved from my library because my mom is now doing a run, and I didn't want to just keep filming while she's running on the treadmill. So I went and I picked 2 more books that I didn't talk about. But I now have my TBR, which is going to be very exciting. So I have Get a Life, Chloe Brown, which I talked about already. 10,000 Doors of January. I also feel like this is really fitting for January because it has January in the title, so obviously. I have We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal, which I'm very excited to get to. Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Again, another one I am so excited to get to. But yes. And then I have The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. This one I've been looking at on my shelves for a little while now, and I'm really interested in it. And then I picked my classic for the month, which is going to be Persuasion by Jane Austen, and it's little, so I hope that I can get through it. But yes, so these are all my books that I'm going to try and read in January. And, oh, and of course, my current one, Race the Sands by Sarah Beth Durst. And if my other book by Sarah Beth Durst comes in the mail, I'm probably going to read that one too because I just want to finish it. But yes, so I've also decided, as I was cleaning my library and returning back up all the books while Mom's running, I've decided that I'm going to actually try and do this same video at the end of the year, at the end of 2020, to see how many books I have read from that 183. Now, I'm also going to try and not haul as many books this year, but I'm going to remember the ones that I've hauled so that I can keep them out of the 183 and then see where that ends up. But hopefully this year goes pretty well for that. But yeah, so that is all for me today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am now going to go upstairs and read. So I'll catch you in another video soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.